Order of operations. Okay, the order of operations. What is that? The order of operations is basically a set of procedures, a set of rules, I guess, steps, that we use when we're solving problems that have more than one step. And it's not just like 3 plus 5, boom, 8, I'm done. No, it's more like problems that have maybe 3 plus 8 times 4 times the parentheses of 3 and then with an exponent. And then there's all these steps, all these things that we have to do to get the answer. Now, when we have that, multiple steps, we need a procedure. We need to know how to do it. Which one do we do first? Which one comes after that? And so that's why we have this procedure, this thing called the order of operations. Now, okay, so that's what it is. Before we continue, let's talk about these 2 points first. When you use the order of operations, follow the steps. Don't skip steps. I have students that sometimes get tempted to do the wrong step because, or something a little bit out of order because it's so easy to do. It's just like 2 plus 3, I can do that 5. What does it matter if I do that first? Sometimes it doesn't matter, but sometimes it makes a huge difference. And I hope I have examples that show that. And I do. I just looked over here. I have an example. So what we're going to do some problems together, and then I'm going to give you a couple to do on your own where you can stop the video and then see if you can get it right before I do it. Okay? The next thing I want to say is, when do we use the order of operations? We use it when we don't have variables. Remember what a variable is. A variable is a letter that takes the place of an unknown number. A number that we don't know. So they like put usually it's like a letter X, right? They usually put the letter X, and that would be the variable. So we can't use the order of operations when there's letters, when there's variables. P, it could be anything. A variable can be any letter, but it's taking the place of a number that we don't know. So, okay. We can only use the order of operations when they give us all the numbers. We have to have all of the numbers and their little operations, you know, pluses, you know, additions, subtractions, and divisions, and whatnot. But we need to have all the numbers. We can't have letters, okay? Because this is where a lot of people get confused, well, at least some of my students anyway, where we have the order of operations and we have a certain set of rules that we use, and then we have this other kind of problem that has variables, and my students want to use order of operations on those problems when they can't do that. It doesn't work. Or vice versa. They want to use the rules for that kind of stuff, and we have variables, and they want to use that in order of operations. So just remember that we only use the order of operations when we have all the numbers. All the information is right there in front of us. No unknowns, right? No variables. Okay? All right. So let me show you what the order of operations is. It's basically 6 steps. You know, some people teach it PEMDAS. You know, it's to help remember the order, where it's P-E-M-D-A-S, right? PEMDAS. Yeah, I don't know. I was taught a different way. I was taught a long time ago, way back in the day, I was taught to use, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Right? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please excuse, ... I don't know. However you remember it that way, okay? So the first step is parentheses. Now, I did put something over here to one side of that. It's not just because you have parentheses. You have to have something to do on the inside of those parentheses. In between, you know, my head right here, and beneath my hands. If it's something that's outside of the parentheses, it doesn't count. Now, if there's only a number by itself inside parentheses, you can't do nothing with it because there's just a number. To do math, you need at least 2 numbers and an operation between them, and then you can do something. But if you only have a number by itself inside parentheses, it doesn't even count as parentheses. Parentheses only count as the first step when you have something to do inside of them. Okay? That's very important. All right, after that, it's exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Okay? So let's start looking at some examples, all right? Let me put that to one side for a second here, and then do that. And I'll write the first one here. It's 6 plus 8 times 2 squared. 6 plus 8 times 2 squared. Now, can I get that in the same shot? Yeah, cool. All right, so what's the first step? Parentheses. Do I have parentheses here? No, I don't. So we just get to the next one. Do I have exponents? Yes, I do. I have 2 squared. 2 squared is 2 times 2. Remember that. Remember I did a video on exponents, so if you don't know what I'm doing, go back to that video. All right. Okay, I did my exponent. I don't have any more exponents to solve for, or to resolve. Do I have multiplication? Yep, I sure do. I have this 8 plus 4. And this is where I have some students making those kinds of mistakes. They kind of see this, oh, it's easy, 6 plus 8, 14, boom, 14 times 4. Wait a minute. Addition is the 5th step, step number 5. Multiplication is step number 3. 3 comes before 5. So this is what I mean. Follow the steps one by one. Go through this checklist. Don't be jumping around, okay? Even though it looks so fun and easy to do, 6 plus 8, 14, right? But anyway, we have to do this first. We have to do the multiplication before we can add 6. All right, so 8 times 4 is 32. And now I can do the addition. I don't have any division, but I do have an addition, so that would be 30, that'd be 40, wouldn't it? Okay, plus 40. All right, so there's that one. Follow the steps, okay? Let's get another one. Move that a little bit. Okay. It's not a very pretty 3, is it? Okay. So we have, what do we have? Can you guys understand what we have here? Can you see that? Can you look at this through like a broad way? Like, in other words, in a very general fashion, where it's not, I have a 2, I have a 7, I have a minus, I have a this. Can you just see like the big picture? What I mean is, when I see this, because I've done this so long now, so many years, I see a subtraction between 2 numbers. That's basically all I see. I see one number here and one number here. These numbers are just the product of a multiplication. If I can do that multiplication, I got that number. If I do the multiplication, I got that number, then I can just worry about that subtraction between them. Start looking at these multi-step problems as general things, right? Just very generally. That way you can kind of see where this thing is going to flow. Okay, so let's go with the order of operations here. Do I have parentheses? Yes, I do, but no, I don't. What do I mean? Yes, I do, but no, I don't. What? Okay, so we have a 2 inside parentheses, right? What can I do inside of those parentheses? I only have a number 2. I can put a sign in there. It's a positive 2, but there's nothing I can do. Same thing with the 7. There's nothing I can do inside those parentheses. Nothing I can do inside these parentheses. Or maybe I can put the sign there if I want to see it. Same thing with the minus 4. This is what I meant. If there's nothing inside the parentheses, other than just a number and its sign, I can't do nothing. I got to go to the next step. All right, so exponents. Do I have exponents? No, there are no exponents in this problem. Do we have multiplication? Yes, there are. There are 2 multiplications. The first one being 2 times -7, and the other one is 3 times -4. And we know that they're multiplied because the 2 numbers are touching each other. Okay, they're right next to each other. And we use parentheses to differentiate from 27, for example, because it's 2 and 7 stuck together. It's not one number, it's 2 numbers together. That shows multiplication. Okay, so plus 2 times -7 is -14. Okay, and then I'm going to bring down my minus sign. I'm not using that yet. I'm focused first on the multiplication. This minus would be counted as an addition or a subtraction down here. Okay? And I say that because it just depends on what the sign is of the number. So anyway, we'll get there. So we got to do this multiplication first. 3 plus 3 times -4 is -12. And when a number has 2 signs to its left, we normally put parentheses around it. Okay? I should make those a little darker. All right. And then 12 can't have 2 signs, right? So I'm still doing multiplication. I'm not multiplying numbers, but I got to multiply the double signs. Okay, I can't have 2 signs or more, 3 signs, for example. They all have to be multiplied so that 12 will end up with only 1 sign at the end. So let's go ahead and do that multiplication. Minus times minus, or negative times a negative, is a positive. And then I can bring down my 14, my negative 14. All right, so now I did all the multiplications. It was 2 multiplications with the numbers. There was another multiplication with the signs, because 12 can't have 2 negatives. And then I don't have division, so we don't have a division. Do I have an addition? Well, when the signs are different, if you remember back to my video on this, when the signs are different, we don't add. We have to subtract. So we subtract them, and the larger number will win the sign in the answer, in the final answer. So being that 14 is larger, my answer is going to be negative, because that's the sign that the larger number has. And then I just do the subtraction. 14 minus 12 is 2. All right, this is like paying bills. I've said this before. If you owe $14 and you only have 12 to pay, you can pay your $12, but you still owe $2. Okay? Or 2 quid. Anyway, sorry. Okay, so there's that one. All right, let's do another one. I say quid because I've been watching English television, specifically Top Gear, and I always hear quid on that show. Anyway. All right, so here's another one. Let me make that a little better here. Okay, so we have a couple of things, right? I still see this as two numbers being subtracted. You know, just looking at it. Whatever's inside this parentheses, when I do all the operations that's inside of those parentheses, that'll give me one number. Same thing over here. If I do everything that's inside the parentheses over here, that's going to give me a number. And then there's a subtraction between those two numbers. That's it. Like again, this could be a subtraction or an addition. It just depends on what the sign ends up being at the end. But I know that I can't do anything with that subtraction until I get these two numbers solved. Okay? So it's just like two numbers and a subtraction. That's about it. All right, but let's go step by step. Parentheses. Do I have parentheses? Well, yes. Now, do I have something inside? Hey, you can't see that. Do I have something inside the parentheses that I can do? Yeah, I do on both of these. In these parentheses, there's a multiplication, so I can do that. Same thing over here. Inside these parentheses, there's a multiplication. So I can do those things. And it sounds funny, right? It sounds like I'm skipping steps. Like, right, well, how come you're doing multiplication first when we have parentheses? Well, that's what parentheses means. You're supposed to do what's inside. Whatever's inside these things, you have to do those things. Hang on. When you have parentheses and you have multiple steps inside those parentheses, you have to follow the order as well. You can't be skipping around. So the first step is parentheses. Inside the parentheses, I have multiplication and an addition. What do I do first? What comes first? Multiplication or addition. So you do the multiplication first, then the addition, and then you finish the parentheses. And that's what I mean. So you're doing all these things, but you're still barely in the first step. You're still working inside the parentheses. Anyway, I have an example like that later. Okay, so let's do this. Negative 9 times 4. Remember your signs. It's going to be negative 36. All right, I'm just going to bring down this minus sign because I'm not using it yet. Minus 3 times 2. Mind your signs. It's negative 6, okay? Now remember, 6, like the last one, can't have, like the last problem we did, it was a 12, I think, right? 6 cannot have two signs. So normally what we do, we just put parentheses around it, and then we understand that we have to multiply those two signs. However, let me just make sure I did everything following the steps. Parentheses, I did it. And I did this one. Okay, do I have exponents? No. Do I have multiplication? Now I do. After I did those parentheses, now I have a multiplication of signs. So minus times minus is a positive. Okay. And then I don't have division. Do I have an addition or subtraction? Well, it's going to be a subtraction because the signs are different. Remember that rule, right? Different signs, you subtract them, and the answer will have the sign of the larger number that you used in that subtraction. Okay, so it's going to be basically 36 minus 6 is 30. The bigger number is negative, so my answer is negative. Okay? All right, let's do another one. All right, this is getting a little more fun, I think, right? A little more interesting. Okay, so step 1, parentheses. Do I have parentheses? Yes. Now, inside the parentheses, when I say yes, I mean, yeah, there's things that I got to do in there. That means that's how I know that I have parentheses. Inside the parentheses, how many operations do I have? I count like maybe 2 or 3. Okay, I have a multiplication. believe it or not, 1 is also a multiplication because it has 2 signs, so those signs are going to have to be multiplied. And then, well, the multiplication of 4 and 8 is going to give me a number. That's going to give me, a sign with 1. I have to figure out what sign that looks like a -1 is what it's going to be. They'll have 2 numbers that I'll have to pull together somehow, either with an addition or subtraction. And then that number is going to have a sign, and there's a sign outside the parentheses and a 6. So, I mean, there's a procedure thing that you need to start. Well, you don't need to, but you should be starting to visualize the steps before you start. But inside the parentheses, what do I do first? Do I have another pair of parentheses? I kind of do, but remember, this small pair, it doesn't count as parentheses. All right. Now, if it was a small pair with more things to do inside, I would have to start there. Okay, because I'm in the big parentheses. And I have to start the whole order of operations all over again inside the parentheses, inside those parentheses. So I go, okay, I've got parentheses. Do I have another set of parentheses that I can do something inside of over here? Yes, I start there and I work my way out. Okay. So anyway, this one really doesn't count as parentheses, this little -1 by itself, for the reasons I've already explained. Now, but I do have multiplication, and I have another multiplication, and then I need those numbers so I can see what to do with them first, or after that. So, I guess I have to start with multiplication. So 4 times 8 is 32. Just bringing down what's not being used. Okay, and then I might as well multiply my signs, the positive times a negative, which is a negative. And now I can take away those little parentheses, okay? 32 minus 1. And again, I'm still doing the first step. I'm still working inside the parentheses. It's just that the parentheses had lots of little things that I had to do first. And I did the multiplications. There was no division inside the parentheses, but there is an addition, subtraction kind of thing. And depending on the sign, 32 is positive, okay, because we multiplied 2 positive numbers to get that 32. And when I have different signs at this point, it kind of works like a subtraction. So I have to do the subtraction. 32 minus 1 is 31. The bigger number is positive, so that's my answer. And again, I'm going to keep the parentheses because there's a sign outside. In other words, 31 has 2 signs. And so because of that, I still keep the parentheses, even though I finished all the steps inside. Okay? I'm left with the answer of what was inside the parentheses and its sign. That's it. So, all right. But that means that I'm finished with the parentheses. I got down to the one single number. Do I have any exponents left? No. Do I have multiplication? Yes, I do. I have a multiplication of signs because 31 can't have 2 signs. So we multiply the signs. Negative times positive is a negative. And then, well, the 6 has always been positive. So 6 minus 31, and that is just a horrible 6. My goodness. A little better. Okay. Different signs. You subtract them. Larger number wins a sign. So what is that? 20. It's going to be 25. Negative 25. Okay. All right. I know it's a little confusing. I know it is. Don't get me wrong. I understand it does take practice to get better at this. But the big thing is that we didn't finish the parentheses until this point. So the parentheses, even though we did multiplications, divisions, and all this stuff that's inside the parentheses, we're still doing that first step, parentheses, until we finish and get that number. Okay? And then we can start looking to the next things. All right? That's how it works. You finish what's inside and you kind of just, you start with number 2, parentheses. Okay? All right. Again, just practice this, okay? It takes practice. It's not something that happens automatically. Because there are lots of things to keep in mind. You have your signs, for example. Everybody gets the signs confused. Sorry, here I can't talking right at the same time. All right. What do you guys see here? You guys probably see, oh man, it's a fraction, right? Okay, so what is a fraction? Remember that? Fractions are divisions. So basically I have a division. I have a number divided by another number. That's all I have. But I can't do that division until I figure out what those numbers are, what the numerator is going to be and what the denominator is going to be. So I have to do that first before I can even get to that division. Okay? So it might seem a little bit out of order, a little bit out of place, that division. But that's the thing, that's what this whole expression is. It's just a division. Something divided by something. And so this is an example where you do kind of skip the order a little bit. I can't do that. I mean, ultimately, that's what I want to do is divide. But I can't do that until I see what these numbers are, the numerator and the denominator. So I have to, that's kind of what I have to do first. I have to do numerator, I have to find the denominator, and then I can do that division. All right, so let's focus on the numerator. And I'll just rewrite the numerator down here, and then we'll do the denominator, I think. Okay, so let's see if we can do this. In the numerator, what kind of steps do I have? I have, looks to me like a multiplication, and then some kind of addition or subtraction, depending on the sign. So I need to do the multiplication before I do the addition and subtraction, because multiplication comes first. So the multiplication is the multiplication of the signs. Positive times a negative is a negative. Okay, so that's really a -6 and a -4. Now this one that's inside parentheses, and there, I didn't say anything about that, but it looks like I have parentheses, but again, if I don't have anything to do inside of them, they don't count as parentheses. Okay. So, and there's, you know, -4 all by itself, nothing, I don't even need parentheses, so I just bring it down, okay? And let me move this out of the way a little bit. Okay, that's our numerator so far, we're working on it. Let's go ahead and do the same with the denominator and get some more information down here. It's basically the same thing as I had in the numerator. I have to multiply the two signs, and then I can see what that gives me. So negative times a negative is a positive, and then I can just bring down my +4. Same thing, it's a number by itself inside the signs. It doesn't need the parentheses because there's nothing outside of it, like multiplied to it or anything like that. It's just by itself. All right, so we're this close to figuring out what the numerator is and what the denominator is. Same signs. There's nothing saying multiplication. This is not minus times minus. No, we already did all the multiplications. This is going to be an addition, okay, because the signs are the same. Same signs. We add and we keep the same sign. So, okay, it's a -10 in the numerator. Almost ready to do my division. And then again, same thing here, same signs. They keep the same sign and we just add them together. So 4 + 1 and it's +5. Okay? And can I just move that out of the way? Yeah, okay. And so the division. Negative, now we're dividing. Now we have to pay attention to the signs. Well, we always do, but negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. Okay, so it's -2. So I had to work the problem so I can get to my numerator and denominator. I had to do all that just so I could actually do the division, okay? But I would hope that you can start looking at problems like this and just say, oh, it's just a division. I just got to figure out what is being divided, okay? All right. Okay, so now, those are all the examples that I wanted to do together, at least first, right? I have a couple that I'd like you to try on your own before I do them. Obviously, I'm going to do them right away on the video, but take a chance, maybe stop the video and try it, see how you do. It's okay, I'm going to be right here anyway, okay? So this one basically says 5 + 2, and then inside parentheses I have 3 squared minus 5. The parentheses, close parentheses, squared, minus 4. That's the first one, okay? And the second one is -3, right up against parentheses, wink, wink, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And then inside the parentheses I have 6 minus 2 squared, minus 2, another parentheses, wink, wink, 2 + 3, okay? And then close the big parentheses. Close both of them, the small one and the big parentheses. So go ahead and take a moment. Pause the video, get up, get a drink of water or whatever you want to drink, and then come back and do the problem, and then I'm going to do it right now, okay? So go ahead and stop it. So I'm going to go ahead and do, how did you guys do? Is it okay? Was it confusing? Let's see what we can do here. 5 + 2, quantity, 3 squared, minus 5 squared, minus 4. Okay. Well, you guys already know what they are, right? You guys already wrote them down because you guys are great students, right? You wrote down your notes and put down the order of operations. Okay, so what's the first step? Parentheses. And we need something inside the parentheses. We need operations inside the parentheses to do something with them. And do we have that? We do. We do. We have this parentheses, and inside I have a couple of operations. I count two, about two operations. I have an exponent, and I have like an addition, subtraction, depending on the signs, right? So with the 5. This exponent might trick you. I had some students that say it's going to be minus 5 squared. Hold on. Parentheses is inside only. So when I have this thing and I have an exponent outside the parentheses, it doesn't count yet. That exponent is outside. I don't do that. So I just got to focus on what's inside. The 3 squared minus 5. So 3 squared is an exponent. Minus 5 is, you can consider that a subtraction. So what would come first inside the parentheses? Obviously the exponents. That's the second thing the second step we would do. And subtraction would be one of the last things that we do. So I would have to do, I can't go like 3 minus 5 squared, I can't do that, but I have to do the exponent first. 3 squared is 9. Minus 5. Okay, I'm just going to write down everything so you guys can see it. Normally I don't do all this work on my own, but I'm more practiced, right? So, okay, now I did the one step inside the parentheses. I am not done. I still have a subtraction. 9 minus 5 is 4. Okay, now I'm going to leave the parentheses around the number. In fact, I could even put the sign, positive 4. But I have to leave the parentheses because there's stuff outside touching the parentheses. So I need those parentheses until I'm done addressing what these things are doing outside the parentheses. So I have a 2 multiplied to that 4. Well, it looks like that anyway, right? And then I have an exponent touching that 4. Crap, man, that 4 is busy, right? That's a popular 4 right there. Okay, and then I have another subtraction, minus 4. So being that this 4 inside the parentheses is so popular, what does the 4 have to pay attention to first? If you look at this, this would be like 2 times 4. And this is 4 squared. What do you do first? Do we do the multiplication first? Or do we do the exponent first? The exponent. So you can't go 2 times 4, 8, and then 8 squared. That doesn't work. You're skipping the steps. Follow the steps. Okay, so we have to do 4 squared first. 4 squared is 4 times 4, 16. And it's positive because a positive 4 times a positive 4 is a positive 16. And I'm still going to leave the parentheses because, like I said, there was 2 things that were all on top of the parentheses. I just got rid of one of them. I still got to get rid of the other thing before I can say no more parentheses. Okay? All right, I'm just writing everything else that we haven't used. All right. So we did the exponent. Do I have multiplication? Well, let me walk you through this one more time. We did parentheses first. We did what was inside the parentheses. And that took a couple of steps to do. So we had to do the exponent, get the 9, do the subtraction, 9 minus 5, 4. At this point, we can say, phew, we finished the parentheses. We finished that, finally. And now we're just going through the steps after that. So we did that. We went from parentheses, we finished, took a couple of steps to do that, but we finished it. Exponents, I did the exponent now, the 4 squared, I got the exponent. Do I have multiplication? Yes, I do. I have this 2. That's what the other thing that was outside the parentheses, that's what it was telling me to do. 2 times 16, I have to do that first. Positive times positive is a positive. 2 times 16 is 32. Okay? And now it's addition and subtraction. When I don't have anything else except addition and subtraction, I can just go from left to right. Okay? Okay. So 5 plus 32 is 37. And I'll write it down so you guys can see it. Wait, you can't see that. Oh no, I'm running out of space. So 37 minus 4 is going to be equal to 33. And it's positive because 37 is the larger number, and the larger number had a positive. So my answer, or your answer, should have been 33, positive 33. Okay. Let's do the other one. Okay, let's try and do the other one now. Remember, follow the order. That's really all it is. Follow the road. And the other one was, or is, 3. Okay. There we go. Same thing. First step, parentheses. Do we have stuff inside the parentheses to count it as parentheses? And yes, we do. This set of parentheses has a whole bunch of stuff inside. I see a minus, I see an exponent, I see a multiplication because the 2 is right up against the parentheses. And inside those little parentheses, I see an addition. There's all kinds of stuff, but I gotta follow the order. So inside the parentheses, I start with the order of operations all over again. Inside the parentheses, do I have another set of parentheses where there's something to do inside? Yeah, I have this small set of parentheses with with something that I can do. I can do 2 plus 3. So I start there first. Okay? And 2 plus 3 is 5. I leave the parentheses because there's a 2 touching them. And so the parentheses are still there doing something. They're showing us a multiplication. Okay, they're showing us that 2 and 5 are right next to each other, and that means multiplication. Okay, so hold on. We did the first part inside the parentheses, which was parentheses. We did this small set of parentheses, and we got the answer. We finished that. Check. Next would be exponents. Do I have exponents inside of these parentheses? I do. I have to do this first. I have to do the 2 squared first. Okay? The negative 2 squared first. And that would be positive 4. Remember, it's minus 2 times itself twice, so minus 2 times minus 2. And minus 2, 5, blah, 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 blah. All right, so we did the exponent. Do I have multiplication inside the parentheses? I do. I have negative 2 times positive 5, and that's going to be negative 10. And now I can take away those little parentheses that were around the 5, because I did the operation. Okay. All right. I'm still not done with the parentheses. This whole time we've been working with the first step. It's just that inside the parentheses we have to start all over again with the order of operations and then work the parentheses till we get to the end. So we get down to one number. So I think we can do this all in one shot, right? 6 plus 4, positive and positive 6, positive 6 plus positive 4. Is it positive 10? 10 minus 10? Well, I'll write it down. Can you guys see that? Yeah, there's enough room. Okay. I have 10 minus 10, 0. That's a lot of work just to get 0, right? That's a lot of work to get nothing. Okay, I'm laughing. I don't know about you. All right. And then minus 3 times 0, well, that's going to be anything times 0, positive or negative is 0. Okay? That's the last one I have for you right now. You know, just follow the order. Don't skip steps. Go one by one. Remember that when you're inside parentheses, pay attention to what's outside the parentheses. If there's numbers touching them, you gotta work that parentheses down to one number, but you gotta leave the parentheses because there's stuff outside touching them. Until you finish the stuff that's touching the parentheses, you gotta leave them there. Once you finish those things, then you can take away the parentheses. Okay? Step by step. Just keep practicing. Find a tutor. Yeah, good luck.